Well, you can be charged up to 5,000 rand or end up with a criminal record even for breaking lockdown regulations under the Disaster Management Act. The South African judiciary has published a series of new directives outlining how much citizens will have to pay in admission of guilt fines if they violate regulations. ENCA reporter, my colleague Barry Bateman, following that for us. Hello to you, Barry. You'll forgive me if perhaps I speak on behalf of many people I know just how confusing these regulations are and what is now allowed that wasn't before, and what now we can be criminally charged for and fined for. It's all quite confusing, isn't it?
Well, you know, if you have a good read of the offences that are available, and there's not that many of them, about 24 that'll actually land you in hot water, Gareth. But it's so 2020 and it's so locked down that there's actually offence for illegally walking, running or cycling. That'll cost you $500, and that would entail being out doing those particular activities outside of that curfew of 5 or 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Of course, there are also fines for breaking the nighttime curfew. So if you are out and you're not an essential worker without the required documentation after 8 p.m. and before 5 a.m., that'll land you with a fine. The heaviest fines there are for unlawfully evicting somebody. Now, that'll get you into trouble in terms of other legislation itself, but under the Disaster Management Act regulations, you'll be slapped with a 5,000 rand fine. But another one there that we've seen is intentionally exposing somebody to COVID-19. That's also up there with the highest. There are two for 5,000, and that's the second one. 5,000 rand for intentionally exposing somebody to COVID-19. So, you know, a lot of the fines now were part of the schedule that were under lockdown level 5. There's just the new ones primarily related to the breaking the curfew and exercising outside those times that have been added.
Yeah, and we've seen just how seriously authorities are taking this, haven't we, Barry? Especially with the intentionally exposing someone else to COVID-19. We had that issue down in the Western Cape, didn't we, with one of the taxi drivers that was carrying passengers in his vehicle. He was found to have had COVID-19, and even he knew he had the disease. I imagine that's where these kind of laws are coming in to show people just how seriously they're taking this kind of behavior.
Well, I think that's why we're seeing a 5,000 rand fine for that particular offence. You know, I've spoken to two prosecutors this morning, both saying that charge of attempted murder against somebody, you know, who knows they have the coronavirus, be charging them with attempted murder, the actual chance of that being a successful prosecution is just about zero. The reason for that, firstly, the mortality rate of the disease that we're dealing with here, you know, South Africa, it's about 2%. So to try and help that stand in court on a criminal charge is not going to fly, but it is risky behavior, and I think that's what these regulations come down to. It's to stop that kind of behavior, and 5,000 rand in South Africa's economy is a lot of money. So people are advised not to engage in such conduct. So it is all about, you know, encouraging people to act in a particular way. It's worth noting, Gareth, that, and this is something Professor Peter Vos noted when these regulations came out, that being outside without a mask is not an offence. It is advised in the regulations that you should do so, and we certainly encourage everyone to do so. It's in the interest of the public health, it's in the interest of the people around you. But just being outdoors without a mask is not an offence and is not punishable by an admission of guilt fine.
Barry, this is such an important one, just before I say goodbye to you, because so many people are still getting this wrong. Let me just read this to you. It may have changed as far as the wording is concerned. Publishing any statement to deceive any other person about COVID-19. Obviously, this would refer to what is happening on social media, on these various WhatsApp groups. You and I are part of hundreds of them, even where we're living. I don't think people are understanding how seriously they need to consider what they are putting on social media and even on WhatsApp. They think they're just forwarding information. It's not as simple as that, is it?
No, it's not. You've got to be very careful with what you're affording. But I mean, it's just also make common sense. You don't want to mislead people. This is a very important public health issue, and you ought not to be spreading fake news. I mean, you think of people just forwarding issues on WhatsApp and so on. I mean, we have politicians like Police Minister Becky Cele warning that COVID-19 could wipe out humanity, which is what he was saying when the level 4 regulations were passed. I mean, something like that is, of course, very irresponsible to say. But you can face a criminal sanction if you are found to be spreading fake news. People are already in the court system for doing this. There have been WhatsApp videos, YouTube videos and Facebook videos, some individual raising conspiracy theories related to the test of COVID-19, completely untrue. So be mindful what you say. But just to close, Gareth, I just want to make the point as well that these are admission of guilt fines. You're not just slapped with a fine, but you also end up with a criminal record. But the person who has been accused of this particular offence, they can opt not to pay the fine and to challenge the charge in court.
All right, Barry Bateman, as always, thank you very much indeed speaking to us about the various regulations in place that could see you paying an admission of a guilt fine. You can go and find Barry on Twitter, by the way. I'm sure he'll put some of those regulations up for you as well.